Hey everyone, it's Scott Slade here at WSB Radio and our terrific museum just off our lobby in our studios in Midtown Atlanta. There's lots of history here, including the original telegram that authorized us to go on the air 100 years ago, this terrific old radio gear, even the original WSB chimes that went on to become the NBC logo. Yeah, it kind of takes me back to where I got started. Without the smell. Yeah, I had my pretend radio studio upstairs in the chicken coop just outside of the farm where I grew up in Griffin, Georgia. All that great mentoring for those Griffin radio stations when I was in high school. Terrific guys like Fred Watkins and Buddy Farnan and Dick Williams and Stan Watson and Marshall Mann and Alan Marshall and so many others. We all came from somewhere. We need to celebrate that heritage tonight. While we're here, let's commit to mentoring the next generation of Georgia broadcasters. Welcome to the Friends of Georgia Radio.
How can you possibly put 100 years of radio magic into one short, exciting video? It's impossible to show how radio is always informing the community with the most important news, traffic, and weather. And even though the radio is playing one of my favorite songs right now, you just can't play them all, can you? And how can you list all the talent up and down the radio dial over all the years? The men and women, the incredible stars that kept you company, made you laugh, made you cry. It's unreasonable to even consider such a task, right? No, it's not. Not for the Friends of Georgia Radio. Here we go with a complete, incomplete history of Georgia radio, designed to make us proud, to make us think of many others we need to include, and to help us mentor, showing how it can be done to the next generation, and providing the financial support for the next 100 years with the Friends. Hang on to your headphones, 'cause here we go. And it almost didn't start at all. WSB had plans to go on the air for the first time March 15th, 1922. They had promoted it, got potential advertisers excited about it. And remember, there were very few actual radios around to hear the premiere broadcast of the 100-watt station. Maybe 1,000 people tops. But there was a problem. No transmitter. Yep, and it would not be delivered for a month or two. The word went out for help, and the call was answered. A group was getting ready to launch WRGA in Rome, Georgia, headed by Gordon Haidt, who had ham radio equipment that could be retuned. So parts and that transmitter were delivered just days before sign-on. And in Atlanta on March 15th, 1922, that small audience heard the Light Cavalry Overture. See, even in the beginning, we were Friends of Georgia Radio, helping each other, though this time was actually very competitive. The Atlanta Journal was first with WSB and the borrowed equipment, and the Atlanta Constitution signed on WGM 2 days later. No record on what song they might have played. In these early days, the new technology exploded, with new stations almost every week, limited hours of operations, but already content was becoming king. And advertisers noticed, wanting to control that content too. Local shows were soon followed by the network era of radio and new bigger-than-life personalities.
Here's that man himself, Arthur Godfrey.
Now this is a broad generalization, but then World War II became radio's content. Some of the most compelling and dramatic reports right from the war. Families felt like they were there with their kids on the front lines.
This is London. The Allied rear guard is still holding Dunkirk against increasing German pressure.
And radio evolved with a whole new generation of new employees, younger students, and for the first time, women performing and managing stations, trying to keep them on the air even for a couple of hours a day. After World War II, hundreds of new radio stations started popping up as the soldiers were coming home eager to start new lives, new families, new businesses. The radio networks were still there and continued until the 60s, but there was clearly a need for something bigger and better. New pioneers on the radio dial, a new energy, and Georgia Radio was leading the way with local talent that dominated the airwaves in their communities. You'll know some of these names for sure, like Ben Lucas in Rome, Ken Stanford in Gainesville, J.J. Jackson and Kelly McCoy in Athens. Buddy Carr was huge in Augusta, like Burl Womack and E. Larry McDuffie in Savannah. And the recently retired Billy Burl, who hosted the longest-running weekday radio show in North America, hosted by the same person. 68 years in Northeast Georgia. And there's Joe Willie Sousa in Waycross, Brunswick, Bear O'Brien in Columbus, and remember Bill Powell in Macon. Plus in Atlanta, there was Bob Van Camp, Tony the Tiger Taylor, Burke Johnson, and Skinny Bobby, just to name a few. In fact, there were many more men and women who were the pioneers of Georgia radio. This set up the golden age of radio. Pop culture was exploding in many new directions, pushing new fashions, new car designs, and rock and roll music. And Georgia radio was right there tracking the trends. The mom and pop radio formats were no longer the best business model. Network radio was replaced by a more local focus. Marketing and advertising had discovered their disposable incomes and wanted those audiences. And those audiences were created by playing the biggest hits of the day over and over. How often did you want to hear your favorite song? All the time, until it wasn't your favorite anymore. And the one playing those songs was a star in the making. The local DJ spinning the platters that matter. And they did for this group. A group that just loved who played the hits. Like Chris O'Brien at WSGA.
Well, here at 7:07 in the morning at WSGA is Chef Leftovers, Chef.
Oh, thank you. It is good to be here this morning. The city council plans to cut down on the crime in the streets by 50%, you know?
I see. How do they plan to do that?
They are going to build more streets.
WSGA, good morning, 8:03.
Lots of energy, pushing more music and wacky bits on this Billboard Station of the Year. And Chris is up for a Marconi Award this year. All the best to you, Chris. Then there's the early screamers, like the legendary Ron Parker on WDOL.
It's exactly 9 o'clock in the Classic City. You're with Ron Parker. WDOL, Georgia Gold. Little Bulldog, Georgia Gold. 50,000 watts of Parker power from the Classic City on a Wednesday night. Sly and the Family Stone gonna do it to it one time from 1968 and dance to the music.
Great effort to making a total connection. And this Georgia boy worked the country from CBS FM, WLS FM, and is still on Sirius XM, and right now on TGC Radio Online. And then one of the best in the nighttime.
From 79, WQXA. Mama, walk up your sheep. The count is on the whole tonight. Oh, it's gonna be music. 7 o'clock in the Atlanta nighttime. The County McLeod good time for rock and roll radio. Soul is on the air. Got me some good-looking, home-cooking, black-booking, fast-pacing, drag-racing, kissing, facing the outraging, good time and bridge running, stump jumping, egg-sucking, nitty-gritty, and old red rock and roll.
Wow. Each guy very different. The skyrockets of endless hops, multiple appearances, and endless hours. Plus, technology was added to increase the fire with transistor radios. And car designs included push-button radios on the dashboard. But that set up the next thing. More formats, more variety, more opportunities. The pop explosion didn't stop, and neither did the Adventures in Georgia radio. Now, audiences wanted more, not just the biggest hits. Top 40 was trying to play to everyone, but many found more appeal in the albums or in new artists from country and R&B. Some didn't like the new edge, so a softer format was designed especially for office listening. Many more formats to generate new audiences. Plus, it wasn't just music formats, but news, talk, and sports too. Everybody had an opinion and a favorite team. So new formats reached new and bigger audiences, and the personality was still king, but now super serving that specific audience. There's no way to play them all, and we wish we could. Go to friendsofgeorgiaradio.org, where new clips are being added all the time. But now, to continue our history lesson, let's feature some of the unique Hall of Legends superstars. Gary McKee, Mike Roberts, Randy and Spiff, The Morning X, Rhubarb Jones. And that's just the start. The new evolving talk format developed exciting personalities, most with disc jockey backgrounds. One of the biggest in Georgia was the talk master, Neil Bortz.
All righty, folks, here we go. It's 29 minutes until the top of the hour, Thursday, the Neil Bortz radio show. Yeah, they're going to really send somebody out to your yard for a dead bird. How much money are we spending sending people into backyards to look at dead birds? Stay there. Don't go away. You might miss something interesting.
Just think of all the men and women doing local news, weather, and traffic. And that just might have to be a whole new video. It was magical. In fact, many times, entire air staffs deserve to be highlighted, with the perfect compelling blend of energy, service, and personality to benefit the entire community. We were a long way now from just playing the hits. We were innovating every book with incredible creativity and marketing for Georgia radio. And of all the many contributors to the success of Georgia radio, don't forget the memorable station voices, often positioning the stations to their audiences with their creative takes and promos. There's Greg Oliver, Mitch Faulkner, Jeff Winter, Gene Barrett, John Williard, George Robinson, and many more. And it is my honor to be a part of this special group as well. Thank you. I'm Randy Reeves. Now, what about the future? Friends of Georgia Radio want to invest in the future. Dr. Dale Van Canfort of Piedmont University is the chairman of the scholarship committee providing needed dollars. Dollars we are helping to raise here tonight for the next generation. Get your degree, get your credentials in the business, and take over the future.
No matter what role you want to take in this business, because here is the next big step for performers, journalists, programmers, and managers. Just look at this group. Those two over there could be the next Steve and Vicky. Or this fellow here might be the next Ted Turner. Or one of these students might be the podcaster of the year in 2029. Over 20 senior colleges and universities in Georgia offer the diverse training needed today. And we're here to help these students keep the magic happening. You'll see 4 great examples of their success later this evening. For details on how you can support our scholarships, please visit our website, friendsofgeorgiaradio.org. But for now, we say thank you.
Georgia is the home this year of a world champion and a national champion. Jim Powell, Joe Simpson, and Ben Ingram on this call.
First base. Is this happening? It is. The Atlanta Braves are world champions.
And some of the biggest sports personalities over the years. Munson's Ron Lindsay, Skip yelling, "Braves win!" Holman Durham, the great Al Seraldo. And radio was there to capture history this year with Scott Howard.
Snap to Young. Drops back. Pressure from the edges. He throws near sideline. And it's intercepted. Intercepted. Keely Ringo at the 21. Off he goes. 40, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. Near sideline. Breaks the tackle. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. 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 Georgia. 54 seconds to go. Keely Ringo with about a 75-yard return. No flags. 32-18. Let the celebration begin.
And we did celebrate. And we do celebrate right now with you.
Georgia.
The future continues to be redefined for Georgia Radio. And building on the strength of our past, the excellence of today's audio platforms, and looking forward with scholarships for our future, it's easy to feel good tonight. Thank you again for your support of the Friends of Georgia Radio.
Ain't she?
That's sweet, y'all. Thank you. That's so nice. Thank you very much.